around putting a property on the market. And secondly, we're going to talk about capital gains. When you sell your property, how much taxes do you have to pay? Of course, most people want to find out how to avoid taxes. That's okay, because President Trump, find a way to avoid taxes, and he's making billions of dollars, right? So we're all entitled to that. So we're going to talk about the tricks to avoid taxes around it. And then we're going to talk about Proposition 19. How does that affect you? Again, it's still about tax savings, choices you make, especially if you're going to stay in the state of California. If you're out of state of California, that doesn't protect you. But if you stay in the state of California, either you're moving down or you're moving up, how does that affect you, especially if you're 55 years and older? So we'll talk about that. And for that reason, I have my co-presenter today. It's a title rep. I'm gonna, I'll go through that. Once again, if you stay through the end of this presentation, we'll put you in a raffle for Target gift card. You can fill your buckets with the card that you'll get from Target from us. All right, so let's get started, shall we? All right, so my name is Gary Nix. I'm a broker associate, meaning I have a broker license myself. I do work under Keller Williams South Bay. 15 years in the industry, but really that can be misguiding, because there've been some people that have been 40 years in the industry and have not done half of the transaction we've done. We've been blessed to help really thousands of family. And what that means is that it's just a lot of different files that we've gone through to overcome, to take them to the finish line. So we'll use that guided experience in navigating through this water. All right. My co-presenter is going to join us later on, Matt Guggenheim, Fidelity Title Vice President. Been there for a long time. We do work together in a lot of deals, so it's going to give us the benefit of what we need to know. It will be more conversational when it comes on as to, issues with Proposition 19, capital gains. I've got my experience in there that we can have conversation around. All right. So preparing your home for the market. When you decide you want to sell your home, what are the things you need to know? Okay. So things you want to consider, there's a difference between one home selling for more and one home selling for less, right? Everybody wants the most amount for their, you want to cash in the most equity on your home. How do you do that? Okay. You have to be aware we're in a fast market. People, it's a lot of information coming to us every day. They say millions of information is coming on us. So, but our brain scans through all this information and it retains what it wants to retain, right? And you have that 15 seconds to impress that buyer. Most of them decide on a property. Really, in my times, I'm driving a client to a property, and as soon as they get to the neighborhood and get to the front of the house, I say, no, I don't want to go in. Wow, you don't know how, these great pictures inside. I don't care. I don't want to go in. So it's really important that that curb appeal be there. Okay. So again, if your home is in a greater condition, you're gonna get the best offer. If you may be in a great area, but for your home is in bad condition, you're just gonna get lower offer. That's when people are gonna offer, even though your house is worth this much, they're gonna offer much less because of the condition of the house, right? So staging makes a difference. And we're going to talk about staging. In the past, I brought a stager in to come and talk about what they do. But today, I just want to simplify it for people to understand, what do you do to make your house, attractive to that buyer? And we're going to talk about the various things that you need to know. If you keep those in mind, if you're thinking about, making a move in the future, just begin to do one of these things, along the way. All right. Okay. The chlorine really matters. I know once we move into a place, and it's amazing. If you live in a place for a little bit and then you move out, oh my God, you always find out like, oh my God, how did I have this much stuff? But that's just human nature. We buy stuff, in the house, or we go to events and we bring stuff home, and they just keep chlorine, the house, right? So, but a buyer that's buying your house don't want to see that. They don't want to see, they don't want to see a mess. They want to see your very best. So, taking a look at these two pictures, you see one is like cluttered. It's just people living, right? You live your life and you put stuff on your dresser, you put stuff on your computer table. But once you decide you want to sell it or you're thinking about selling it, look at the fact that you want people to see the very best, right? So taking all those stuff out on the wall, on the table, makes a huge difference. Okay. So what you're looking at is, when a home looks straight, it just it gets more value. When a home is staged, and again, it's not that you have to hire a professional stager. Some homes you have to hire a professional stager. And by the way, sometimes it's not, especially if you have good stuff in your house, but you just have too many good stuff, right? Sometimes, getting a professional stager and then make those little good stuff as little as possible, as opposed to all over the place, because you will lose the value of attraction at that point. Okay. So you want to stand out from the crowd. If you are in a neighborhood where 3 or 5 homes are in the market, you want your home to look different from them, right? And meaning looking different, looking better than the rest of them. And how does it do that? You take a look at this picture. One is got the pavement, you got the grass, uh you got stones all over the place, right? So it doesn't look attractive. But you look at the middle one, uh look at the even though it doesn't have grass, it's just one thing and it's laid out nicely, it presents better. And again, this curb appeal really, really does matter in creating value, for us. And then inside the home, uh, you know, again, the more you can take stuff out, the better. Of course, in today's world, if it's all possible, you want to take a carpet out because people just don't like carpets anymore. Even though you may like carpet, always think about the fact that other people don't like it. They don't see it as an attraction for the house. And sometimes, replacing the carpet with wood may be very less. It costs you maybe $10,000 to put in a 1,600 square foot, to 2,000 square foot flooring, but you may get $50,000 more because of that flooring when you put it in. So these are the things we want to be aware of. So throughout the house, you want to make note of any areas that need painting or repair, so that it's done, and it looks really, really, really good. So it's again, it's sometimes you don't need to paint the whole place. It may just be one area that you paint, and it shows better because of that, right? You can paint the wall in between, like you look at a kitchen. You don't need to paint the whole thing, but way outside of the cabinet, if you have uh you know some noisy stuff on the wall, you paint it out, and all of a sudden it looks fresh, right? Even in the shower, uh, of course you want to do deep cleaning, but in the uh, in the bathroom, if you have windows, like you don't have, some people have, uh, some decor on the window, but if you don't have that, just paint these little gaps, and all of a sudden it looks much fresher. Those are things that a handyman would do, and it looks, completely good. Whenever you put in a bedspread, you have a bed and you're laying in bed, we always recommend putting on something as bright as possible, right? If you put on dark colored beddings, it makes the room smaller. But when you put a bright color, all of a sudden it looks bigger. And then key thing is always open your windows, uh, uh, for photography for sure. Turn the lights on, open the windows, so it can look better. Now, again, when you're living in the house, yeah, you're watching TV. It's so funny, and you see people on the MLS, they'll have their TV on the MLS. What's that? You want the contrast of the wall and the black screen to matter, not the image. The image, just the image on the TV. Just take a look at that, the second image here. If that TV is off and it's black, it will look different from when it's on. And again, it's on when you're living in a place, but we want to present it better so it can show differently. Other things to consider. Just make sure we're definitely good on time here. Colors. Everyone has a color they like. I've been in houses where it's green. We just bought a house. The guy has a yellow wall, green wall, and a red wall in a big living area. It make the place look cluttered. And I had a place painted white. Oh my gosh, huge difference. So we all have a preferential color, and I can tell you, I remember I sold this one house to a couple that looks big and nice, and they fell in love with it. But they invited me to the house like 3 months later. Oh, like Gary, we painted the place, we make it on. And I get there like, okay. But that's what you have a right to do, right? It's your house. You can make it whatever color you want. You want to make it green color, good to you. But when you're selling the house, though, you want to make it an even or bright color, uh, even tone or bright color. When I say even tone, like a neutral color, is what's going to work better when you're selling it. The kitchen, as bright and less cluttered as possible, makes a huge difference. All right. Again, you live in your house, but when you decide you want to market it, you don't want to show all the stuff that you have in the house. You want to pack them, put on a box, and when you move on to a new place, you can resurface your stuff. It's your stuff, you have a right to it. But again, we got to show it well to get the buyers to fall in love with it. And that's what you're looking at. It's amazing when people are selling their house, they want to be home for showing. They want to be there when the buyers come. You're just taking away your equity down that way. You want to make your home as presentable to the buyer and let them imagine themselves inside of the place and do what they want to do in a total place. All right, so again, you look at these 2 bathrooms. Of course, you have the granite, top there, the lighting. So you see they open the windows, they turn the lights on. It makes it brighter. Toilet, please do not leave the toilet open at any time. Yeah, when you're home by yourself, you can leave it open, but when you're showing it to people, always close it. There's something uh, very attractive on any open toilet. Clean or not, it's always better, closed up. Okay, so again, with the bedroom, we talk about having the windows open. That's the best lighting you can have. Even if you have a lot of recessed light, you still want to open the window so you have more light coming in. And instead of a red beddings, you want to put on a white bedding. If you look at the one to your left with the white bedding and just a little color to give it some color, it looks much brighter. And even though this one to our right, flooring is good and all that stuff, but the bed, it dimmed the look of the property. And again, when it feels dark and enclosed, it's not as inviting, and you're not inviting the right people to your property. Okay. Living room, making it a spacious, even though normally let's say these chairs are normally closer together, for the purpose of family functionality, watching the TV and stuff. But don't do that when you're selling. If you have space on the wall, open it up. It looks bigger and more massive than compressed when all the chairs are together. I mean, this is a classic example. My living room right now, from going to the backyard and whatnot will push the chairs closer together, right? But when you're marketing it, you gotta pull it away, pull it apart, and pull it further back, so it looks bigger when they take the picture. It comes out more. And again, you can see the blue color to the white, almost white color for the left side. The blue color, sometimes you like blue, which is great, but when we're selling it, we want to put the neutral or white color in there to attract more people. When people feel that they're gonna have space, it's not necessarily that the floor plan change. It's just that they feel that the space is there, and it gives it more value, right there. Dining room area, okay. Do not have, which is, as you can see on the left side, most people have practicality of having, other chairs, computer chair, by your dining room. But in the purpose of selling, you want to take those computer chairs away, leave the dining room in there, open it up so it's wider and bigger. You know, Definitely do not take a picture with somebody inside of the picture. Family members, when your pictures have been taken, please walk away from there. They don't want to see your glare. They don't want to see your shadow. It just it keeps it's like you're projecting resistance, to the potential buyer. So you don't want to do that. Okay. Front yard, curb appeal very much matters. The lawn's gotta be kept. It's worth it to pay $60 to a gardener to help you cut your grass, line it up so it shows well. Again, that 15-second appeal of people just driving by and immediately falling in love with your property or driving by like, I don't know. We don't want that. We want them to like, wow, I love this. Because when they have that wow factor, guess what? You're gonna be able to receive a much higher offer than when people are somber around the impression of the property. Okay. Backyard. Even though the picture on the right, the backyard is also pretty big, but it's cluttered, right? And we don't want that. So we want to open it up so it looks bigger and spacious, right? Again, it's just a little housekeeping, Um, if you gotta cut the grass, definitely move furniture away. Uh, Not necessarily completely gone, but away for picture taking. If you gotta move them from front to the back, so you can get a good image of the place, then it's really good for you to do that. Okay. All right. So that ends that. Is Matt on the line? Okay.
I don't think so, Gary.
Okay. All right.
Hey,
So
hey, Gary, this is Ricky.
yes,
Can
sir.
you see me?
No. Okay. Let me see. But go ahead and talk though.
Oh, no, I just tapped. It says the host has been later. Oh,
You have to click on the video. Yeah, Ricky. So it looks like your video is off. That's on the it's usually at the bottom left side of your device.
would that be in settings?
No, just on the screen right there. Just look towards the bottom. You'll see like a red arrow. Click on that red arrow. That'll open it up.
Oh, I just saw recording and I see the. Oh, let's see. Start video.
Okay. There we go.
Okay, there I am.
All right.
All right.
So talk to me.
Oh, I was just listening to your Zoom, and everything sounded pretty good about the light colors and don't have anything cluttered in the kitchen and that kind of stuff. So yeah, all of those things are important. That's all.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else have any question before we go into the other part of capital gains and Proposition 19? Okay. All right. Okay. With Matt not being here. All right. So let me just talk about capital gains. I don't have a slide. This was supposed to be my title rep, but he has a family emergency today. So the capital gains, how to avoid capital gains. So first of all, when do you get capital gains? So if you're selling a home that is not where you live in, let's start with the home you live in. Let's start with when you live in a home and you are an individual, you're protected for $250,000 of profit. And if you're a couple, you're protected for $500,000 worth of profit. Now, what most people don't understand, because of course we're in a place now where you could have bought a home 20 years ago for 200,000, and now the home is worth 900,000, right? And then maybe you're an individual, a single man, single woman. And so what I just want to make people to understand is there are ways around it. Okay, so first I want to deal with the primary home, and then we're going to talk about investment home. How do you go around those? Okay, so with your primary home, again, let's use a scenario. You bought a house for 200,000, and now your house is worth 900,000. So supposedly that's 700,000 worth of profit. And either you're individual or couple, you'll have your protection of 250 or 500,000. So let's deal with an individual, because that's where, okay, if I sell my house at 900,000 and I have to pay, and capital gains tax is about 25% of that profit. Okay. So what you do, and again, this is what, the rich do. And, that's how they continue to be richer and keep most of their money in their pocket. What you have to understand is that, yes, you have 250 protection, but you also have the ability to write off your expenses over the 20-year period. on the house. So let's say it's not unusual within 20 years that you've done some improvement, you've changed the roof, you've redo your kitchen because 20 years ago, what it used to look like is not what it looks like today. And maybe even before you put a property on the market, you spend another $40,000 in rehab to get it right to put on the market. So if in 20 years' time you've spent a fair amount of, say, another $200,000 in improvement over the property, you can write that off. And then you have your cost of sale, right? You can also write that off. So now, and you're still protected with 250, but now you can itemize almost $300,000 or $350,000 worth of expenses, that you've either incurred over the years or that you're incurring at the time of sale, right? So you have original purchase price of $200,000. You have $300,000 of improvements is done, right? And you have $250 of protection. So now it looks a little bit different from, oh, I'm going to pay a capital gain on $700,000, which is 25%. So now I'm giving out $200,000 to the government. But now we're talking 200 plus 300, that's 500, right? And then plus your 250, that's 750. So now all you're paying capital gains is on 150. So that's a very minimal amount compared to anything else.
Gary, can you hear me?
Yes.
Let me ask you a question real quick. Okay, so as an individual, it's 250, but if it's a married couple, it's 500, right?
That's correct.
Okay, and so when you say remodel, if you spent over 300,000 over a 20-year period, is there any depreciation where you can only use part of that, or you can use the whole 300 over for 20 years?
Well, I think at the time of sale, now I don't want you to, I'm not the law on this, a tax person will be the law. But
I got you.
I think at the time of sale, you can write it all off.
Okay.
So you're gonna get a Form 4916, from your escrow, and you can write off all your expenses on it. So I want to, that's for your owner-occupied property, and we just talk. So now, if you're a couple, instead of 250, you got 500,000. You're not paying any capital gains tax at all, right? So, but for an individual, basically we've cut that tax base down from 700 to 150, and then you pay 25% of 150. That's not
right.
the end of the world.
Well,
Now,
let me ask you this. So you got the remodel, then you got the individual or the couple exemption, and then what's the third one you mentioned? Is that expenses
you
for
have the cost
selling
of,
out?
yeah, you have the cost of sale, yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
All right. So that's that part. The other part I want you to see is if this was a secondary home or investment home. So there are loopholes to everything, right? I had
Gary?
Yes.
Can you let Wendy know to let Matt get in? I think he's on the waiting room.
Okay. Yeah, Wendy should be allowing everybody in the waiting room.
I don't see him. Hold on.
Okay. So now let's talk about if it was an investment home, right?
Right.
So if you have a second or third home that you're selling, how do you protect from capital gains tax? First of all, the state allows you that if in any home that you live 2 out of the last 5 years, you are protected as an as a primary home. So if you've lived there, say you had this property, originally you were living there, and then you moved to another property that you move into, and but now you've rented this one for the last 3 years. but 2 years prior to that, you live in there, you still have the same protection as owner occupied. So if you're an individual, a couple, you have the 250 or the 500, okay? Another way is if you have multiple homes and you want to do an exit strategy, you can move back into a previously investment home, living there for 2 years, and boom, you're covered, and you're still covered on the other one too. So it's just finding loopholes with which they always the state always want to see the address you use on your taxes. So if you use your taxes at one point at this place or at the other place, so long as you live 2 out of the last 5 years in the home, you can be protected. Now, the other part is if you are selling an investment home, what most people would do is do a 1031 exchange, right? Meaning if you sell it and you are looking to buy something, another home with it. So let's say you had a single family home and now you want to go buy a 4-unit, right? And you sell that single family home, you can now be protected on all of that profit, transfer it in what they call a 1031 exchange. But that money you cannot take for yourself. Now, if you need to take something out, it has to be in a cost of sale. So cost of sale involve, paying fees for escrow, title, commissions for agents and all that stuff. And you can put your own expenses as cost of sale. So let's say you need to keep $50,000, you can put your expenses in the cost of sale and then transfer the rest of the profit into the 1031 exchange to purchase another property. This way, you are not paying taxes on that too. It's
Gary, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Okay, so what if I don't want to invest in other properties as a 1031 exchange other than cost of sale? Is that the only thing that protects you from capital gains?
Well, you have cost of sale and your expenses too. Yeah, you're protected with your expenses. So let's say you have the property for 10 years, right? You want to sell the property, but you
Yeah.
never lived in there. So if you never lived in there, let's say you originally bought it for, 300,000, and now you're selling for $1 million, right? So you have a potential profit of 700,000. So yeah, you're gonna have cost of sale, right? And then you can claim all your expenses on it. So let's say you've rehabbed the house 2 or 3 times in the last, 10 years or 15 years you have the house. So you can write off, and most of these, I mean, I haven't seen anybody that got audited, honestly, in dealing with a lot of sellers over 200. I haven't seen anybody that got audited. You just gotta be reasonable, right? You can't say my expenses is 500,000. That looks that's a red flag. But if it's within reason that, okay, with the cost of rehab now, just putting the market could cost you, 80,000. And then let's say over the years you spend $100,000 in doing different work on the property. So you're protected with that, and then your cost of sale you're protected with. And the rest.
Okay, so I I'm it's almost like some things that are cost of sale could be very similar to your expenses, like what you might do to the house while you're renting it. And
Yeah,
so like
yeah. So all of that you have a right to write off.
so if you replace a sewer line, something like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. All of that, those are all your deductions. You can itemize down, or put it down there. Absolutely.
Gary, Matt is here.
Hello, Matt. Come on in.
Hi, Gary. I'm so sorry for the delay. I don't know if you told them why I was delayed.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
did.
good
I did.
reason.
Yeah.
I finally got in, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
awesome. So we're talking about capital gains tax, just if you have any other input to put on that, how really what we're talking about here, I think most people obviously is, okay, how do I prevent capital gains tax? So let's open it up for Q&A. Anybody have questions regarding capital gains tax? Because after that, we're gonna jump into, we still have time.
Hmm.
Because we have the benefit of a title rep, very great title rep to answer any questions for us. But I think I've kind of covered the different grounds, of where, capital gains comes from, and how you prevent it, and, where you can write off. And of course, if you have multiple properties, yeah, it's just, you can hide it into, we'll talk about 1031 exchange. You can move it to that. So that way you don't really have to worry about writing off anything. Everything just transfer, but that's using that money to
Did
push.
you talk about 1031 exchanges, Gary?
Yes,
Okay, you did talk about them. Okay, got it. Okay.
Let me ask you a question about the 1031 exchange. Is there any other form that you can use a 1031 exchange without investing into other properties? Is there a 1031 exchange if you put some monies into some type of investment plan or something?
no.
I don't believe there is an investment plan like the finance world, but I believe it would work in, even if you had, well, I don't want to say that because I'm not a 1031 exchange specialist, but like kind property, yes. So if you owned a rental that was a single family property, let's say, and it's not your principal residence, you live somewhere else and you own another home you're renting, and then you decide to sell that rental. Let's just take, for example, you bought it for $500,000 many years ago, and now it's worth $1 million. So you have a nice, easy number to understand. If you were renting it and you decided to sell the rental, you could take that $500,000 gain, that would be a capital gain you would pay taxes on, and you could transfer it to real estate of any kind. So you could go buy a 3-unit building, you could go buy a 4-unit building, a large apartment, you could buy a commercial building. It doesn't matter as long as it's real estate. And you could do that anywhere in the nation. You don't have to do it locally to you. So you could buy somewhere else if you had children that lived in another state and you wanted to buy something near them and make it a rental that they would benefit from. Just has to be real estate of like, it doesn't have to be exactly the same though.
Got you.
All right, so now, Mark, talk to us about Proposition 19, what it is, how it affects
Okay.
homeowners in California.
Okay, so Proposition 19 passed just a couple of years ago. It replaced, if you've ever heard of in the past for many years, Proposition 60 and 90. So it replaced those two propositions and it supersedes those with Proposition 19. In general, Proposition 19 lets someone who is 55 years or older, that's what they consider the age level for this benefit. So you have to be that age or older, one of you that lives in the house. So if there was a husband and wife and one was 55 and one 53, that's fine, as long as one of them qualifies. You can take your principal residence, that means the one that you live in, where your mailing address is and all your bills go to, where you occupy. You could sell it, and you could take, ideally, a low property tax base. Again, I'll give you an example. Maybe you've owned your home for 20 or 25 years. You bought it for $400,000 and now it's worth $1 million, $2 million. We have to put some numbers here, so I'll just say $1 million to be safe. So you could, and currently you're paying taxes on your $400,000 value that you've owned for many years, and it's gone up a little bit because it goes up about 2% a year. So let's say it's up to $5,000 now. So you could take that $5,000 tax bill and sell your current residence, which is your principal residence, and you can go anywhere in the state of California. All counties participate under Prop 19. So let's say you had some children up near Sacramento and you wanted to live near them. You could sell your home here for $1 million if that's what it was worth. And then you could find a property there. And the new law with Prop 19 allows you to either purchase, it's basically equal or lesser was the old law, but now you can also buy above the value that you sold for. So you sold for $1 million, and let's take two examples. You find something up there for $600,000 that you like near your kids. So you could take your tax bill from here and move it to the new home you bought up there for $600,000. Because remember, let's make that purchase up there $800,000 to make you feel the value difference different. So if you bought something for $800,000, the taxes would be about $9,200, $9,300. But you could transfer your $5,000 tax bill up to that house and pay a lower tax bill. So that's the benefit you get from it. But with Prop 19, maybe you've saved other money and your retirement allows you to purchase a larger property near your kids, and you decide to buy something for $1.3 million. So now you're sold here for $1 million, but you bought for more than $1 million up there. So now what it does is it takes your first $1 million. Remember, your tax bill is only $5,000. You move that up there, and then the difference between that $1 million that you get to save the money on and the sales price of your purchase home is, in my example, is $300,000, right? $1.3 million. So then they're going to take the $300,000 extra and put it at current market value, which is going to make that part of the tax bill around probably $4,000. Let's just make it a round number. So there would be $4,000 plus the $5,000 you're currently paying, and you would add them together, and you're going to come up with a bill about $9,000. Still more than you're currently paying, but if you didn't participate in Prop 19, you'd have a bill that's closer to $15,000 on that example of $1.3 million. So it lets you kind of a little flexibility. It also lets you participate in this example 3 times. So you could buy and sell properties 3 times as your owner-occupied residence and still move your taxes with you. So that's a different part of that as well. So that's really what it is. It's a great value for seniors. I mean, I guess I'm a senior too. I'm 62. I don't feel like it, but 55 and older has to be your principal residence. And one more very important factor is you have to have what's called a homeowner exemption filed on your home. If you don't know what that is, Gary can provide the form for it. He has the form and he has a little handout on it as well. So he could send that to you. If he doesn't have your email, that's how he would get it to you. But the homeowner exemption is basically a free form that you fill out and send into the tax assessor. And it lowers I don't want to be confusing with this. It lowers the assessed value of your property by $7,000, which doesn't seem like a lot of money if your home's worth $1 million, right? But that little $7,000 difference is probably around $80 on your tax bill that's discounted every year. So many of you might already have it. If you're not sure, you could give Gary your address and we can check for you just to confirm you do have it. That's just a yes or no we can give you later. We couldn't do it on this call. But if you send him your address or talk to him after, we can find that out for you. If you don't have it and you plan on participating in the Prop 55 where you can move your tax bill with you, you need to file it ASAP because with Prop 19, the tax assessor is very strict on making sure you have it in place for at least 1 year. So you would need to file it soon if you planned on selling, let's say, in 2 years, so that you at least have it recorded on your property they call it seasoning, for at least a year. So that would be crucial if you don't have it and you're planning on making a move like this and using that. Is that clear enough, Gary?
All right.
Any questions on that?
Yeah, I'd like to ask a question. So Prop 19 only impacts your primary home. It doesn't impact a rental property if you owned it.
That's correct. It has to be your principal residence, and you have to have this homeowner exemption filed. The benefits you get if you own other real estate, sir, is you get to use the 1031 exchange that we just mentioned to defer. It's basically deferring the taxes so that you're not paying them at all.
I got you.
Purchase the next property.
So
Yeah.
Proposition 19 replaced what 2 propositions? You said 60 and or
90. There's 60 and 90, those two, yeah. So there was the 60, which allowed a 55-year-old and older person to do what I just said, like transfer their tax bill. But in the 60, you could only do equal or lesser value, meaning sell for $1 million and buy something for less than $1 million or up to that number. But the Prop 19 lets you buy something for more, and it ends up mixing your bill, like between your old bill and the new one.
Right. And what did
And
90 do?
and the 90 had about 10 counties that participated. Most of our local ones did participate, but most of Northern California did not. So that superseded with 19, and every county now participates. So you can move anywhere in the state and take your low tax bill with you.
With you. Okay.
All right, so let's talk about another possibility, right? Just to see if there's another way to defer your taxes on your investment home. Is there a way to put that in a trust, like to set up a trust and put the money in the trust and defer the taxes that way? Is that a possibility?
Put the money in the trust when you sell it, you mean? Or what do you mean, Gary? What's your question there?
Yeah. So, okay, so maybe on the capital gains, you know, I think I've heard of this before. You and I may have actually talked about it. I just want to bring it to limelight. That, you know, for people that have the $2 million property, that have a high, you know, they devote for $125,000, that's worth $2 million today.
Yes.
Is there like a deferred trust account that you set up with those?
Yes, there is a deferred trust, deferred real estate trust, and that basically defers the capital gains. It doesn't eliminate them forever, but it lets you not pay them for a long time, or you pay them in low increments as you receive your income from the deferred trust. Yes. So it's probably a different discussion with more detail. It just has a lot of content to it, and it would probably be more than we would all understand at the end of 15 more minutes of discussion, because it's fairly intricate, and it would require probably a few more bullet points to make it. But yes, there is a deferred capital gains trust that you can do, and remember, it's deferring, it's not eliminating. So that keyword deferred capital gains trust is not going to make them go away, but it definitely makes them postpone for a long time.
What if you postpone for a long time and you happen to pass away before it's due?
Your wonderful children get to hop on the wagon and figure out how to handle that.
Well, at
It
that
doesn't just
point,
go away.
at that point, actually, let me just chime in on that. At that point, it becomes an inheritance, and there's no taxes paid. Correct?
Gary, I wasn't prepared to answer that question, so I don't know that answer.
Okay.
Yeah. That would be great, because I think I would do the ones that I own, and I would do not pass go and do it right away.
All right.
Because that
All right,
sounds
so-
like one of those deals that's just too good to be true. But look,
Question.
you know what, Gary, this can be a to be determined for everyone that's on the call, and the next time they come back for the next one, we'll have that answer, and it'll be hopefully a good one.
Okay. All right. So, thank you so much, Matt. I appreciate it.
I have a question.
Mhm.
My question is, let's say you had 2 units, you bought 2 units, and you are living in one, and you're renting the other. So when you decide to sell it and move out, with 10, what do you call it? The
31.
1041.
1031, yes.
Can also
1031,
can that be applied, or you cannot?
Gary, do you want to answer that? Or you want me to?
Yeah, you answer. So let me make sure you understand what you're saying. So if you have a 2-unit
Yeah.
now, and you live in one of them, so you're basically it's owner occupied. Can you do a 1031 exchange so that way, there's no capital gains paid on that? That's a question. So yeah, you answer it. Go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. From my understanding, what's your name, ma'am?
My name is Caroline Adewale.
Caroline. So Caroline, I'm going to give you a basic example. You own 2 units. Each one of them is a 1,000 square foot building, and you live in one and you rent one. So if we sold that property for $2 million, right?
Yeah.
Then 1 million would be able to be used in a deferred exchange because it's the one you're renting. Okay. And the one you're living in. So if you lived in one that's, I think they take it by square footage, not just the units. So the amount of square footage you're living in and the amount you're renting, like if you lived in a 1-bedroom and you had a 4-unit property, then you have 3 other units that you could do the deferred exchange for with a bigger piece of your sales price. So they kind of split that up based on how much of it you're living in.
Thank you so much.
And you could, so if it was a $2 million sale, now when you do I don't know if you went through this, Gary, on 1031s. So if you have a property, let's just go down Caroline's example of a duplex, a 2-unit, and she has a loan on there for $500,000 currently when she sells. It's worth $2 million, correct?
Yeah.
When you buy another property, you have to buy of equal or greater value than when you sell it. So you would be looking to buy something of more than $2 million. That's what they're wanting you to do. And you have to replace the loan, your $500,000 that you currently have on your 2 units. You have to replace it with money over on the new purchase. So you have to bring in 500. You have to put a loan on of 500 or more. Let's say, well, I don't want to put a loan on the property. I don't want to do that. I just, I'll put maybe a $200,000 loan, but don't want to have all that expense. You have to bring, it's called boot. It's called the money you have to bring to the table to lower the loan amount. So you'd have to bring cash, and this is my example of $300,000 to keep your little $200,000 loan. Otherwise, you're going to have to, pay a penalty for it. They don't let you do that. You have to do equal loan or more, and equal or greater on the sales price when you sell it.
I see.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, Gary, I had a question. If I purchase this rental property I'm gonna just make the numbers easy, for 400,000,
Yeah.
and now it's worth 900,000 years later. So that's a $500,000 profit that I start with that I have to pay capital gains on before using the cost of the sale or my expenses over the years of owning that, right?
Okay.
Well, you could probably lower the $500,000 gain with some of your major expenses that you might have placed on the home that you could write off. So
Right. And the cost of the
Yeah.
sale getting the house ready. So capital
Yes.
gains, it's not the same for everybody based on income, right?
Capital gain does have an income component though. So depending on how much income, literally like your job income, how much income you have coming in, will tell you, like in 2023, I just pulled this up the other day, in case the question came up. There's a different income bracket that you pay the capital gains for, depending on how much money you and your wife, if you're filing jointly, those become like CPA questions. But I have some of the printout here. Do you want me to say what I know right here?
Yes, sir.
I don't want to get into too much detail. Okay,
I got
so I'm just going to make this an assumption to make it easy. That we have a married couple selling their property, and if they file jointly, like 2 people together, like my wife and I do, if you make between $89,000 and $550,000, that's a big spread there. But if that's what you make between those two, you're in the 15% tax rate. So the capital gains bill would be 15%. Okay. If you make more than $550,000, God bless you if you do, then your capital gains bill is 20%. So those are really the 2 differences you might be concerned about. So let's just say you're in the 15%, which probably most people would be. So you'd have the 15% on the capital gains, and you still have to pay your state taxes which is going to be closely to the rounded off number of about 10%.
I
So you're
thought,
going to be just at a,
hold on.
go
I
ahead.
thought the state tax is 3%.
The what?
I thought the state tax is 3%.
That's property
The
taxes.
state, the
Oh,
state
go ahead.
tax, no, you have your normal state tax is 9%. So you're gonna have that bill.
Yeah.
And then it really depends on your income, whether you're in the 15 or 20 number. So you're basically a total of near 25 or you're near 30. So if your example is, let's say your whole profit is 300 grand, then if you're near 30, it's close to 1/3 of it, right? In taxes.
Ooh, that's a lot.
Oh, yeah,
Can I ask a
it's
question,
sobering.
please?
Yes.
Oh, okay. My question is
Go ahead.
not really a question, but it's just like an advice on what to do. Take for instance, you bought a property last year, like it's going to 2 years now. Then after when you move in, you now realize the school district is not really safe for the kids. It's not safe at all. The school district is really, really, really bad. Then
Uh-huh.
what do you think you can do? I'm thinking, do we need to sell and buy another property or just rent out and buy another property? What is the best advice?
So right now you're Gary, you want to clarify?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a question we delve into a little more intrinsically. You know, we need to look at that well. Of course, if it's at all possible, I say buy more properties, right? But you have to look at your qualifying, your ability to buy, and where you want to buy, you know, how much you need into it, right? So
Yes.
I would say let's set up an appointment, and I'll be glad to give you all the numbers that you guys can digest and look through, and then we can take it from there.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Okay, one more question on capital gains, because you said between 89,000 to 550,000, you could be 15% or either 20%.
Yeah.
If you're over
Yes.
550. But my question is, what if your tax person can get you below 89,000 annually?
Then it's
What would
zero.
the capital? Then it's zero?
Yeah, that's what it said. And well, I'm taking this from a printout I pulled online because I thought these questions might come up. I wasn't sure. So it was just on the taxable brackets, and it shows under 89. If that's your income, then it's zero. On the capital gain side.
I mean, yeah, I know the gross is way more than 89 for us, but after all of our I'll have to consult with the CPA on that. But after all of the deductions and expenses and stuff, you can bring it down below 89, right?
Well, if you can make that work, sure, because you could have plenty of expenses that might help you there, and that's where your CPA would come in and help you. Exactly.
That's right. Okay, that answers the question. What's your name again?
My name is Matt. Yeah,
Matt, thank you.
I work with Gary all the time.
Thanks, Gary, for bringing Matt in to help with those capital gain questions. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all so much. We have come to the end of this seminar. I really want to, a lot of people stayed on to the very end, so I appreciate